Hello and welcome to the Athletics Office. I'm your host, Brandon Weaver, with my co-host, Coach RC. And today we are joined by our head cross country and track coach, Cheyenne Castillo. So welcome, Cheyenne.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Yeah, so we want to do some of these episodes where you get to meet some of our coaches that are there at OCS. We have just some incredible people there and just want to be able to dive into more of who they are and what they do for us there at OCS and have such an incredible heart to serve our student athletes there. So we're going to kick it off with Coach RC and Coach Cheyenne Castillo. And so tell us about your background, kind of what brought you to OCS, what was your coaching trajectory like, maybe even your family life, and just kind of tell us who you are.
Okay. Well, I grew up in Sapulpa, Oklahoma, and that's close to Tulsa. I played basketball there, and I also ran cross country and track. So that's how I kind of got into coaching. Both my parents were coaches, so that was who I kind of looked up to. So I got to see a lot of coaching and teaching. They were both teachers as well. So after I graduated from high school, I went to OSU. Go Pokes.
Orange power.
Sorry, guys. But I went there and graduated from there, met my husband while I was in college. And then a week after I graduated from OSU, I moved to Mexico for 10 years.
Wow.
So got to be a wife, and both our sons were born there, and learned a lot of Spanish, and just lived a really great life depending on God there. And then started getting this idea that I wanted to coach there, and God put that in my heart. And I just thought, I don't know how that would ever happen while I'm living in Mexico. So 7 years later, God brought that dream to a reality, and he told us to move back to Oklahoma, and we landed in Kiefer, Oklahoma, which is right next door to Sapulpa. And so I started coaching there and teaching there, and I was there 9 years. Got to coach cross country and track and some basketball as well. And then one day I was looking at the coach's job board online, and the OCS coaching position was open for cross country and track. And I asked my husband, I said, well, what do you think? Should I apply? And he said, yeah, I think you ought to. Because at that time, he was commuting to Bethany, which was, an hour and a half to 2 hours away every day, coaching college women's soccer. And so we thought that was the move we needed to make. So I applied, interviewed, and God gave me that job. And so I'm very thankful for that. And so now I'm here.
Yeah. Well, you've done a great job in your time there, so we really appreciate that. Thankful that he was working at Bethany at the time.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
I'm sure that wasn't a selfish ask of him to be able to get a little bit closer. So, yeah.
Well, Coach, talk to us about leading two sports, right? Not just track, not just cross country, but leading both of them. So actually like 4 sports, because you're the girls and the boys coach for both, right? You probably span the most athletes on campus too.
Huge impact.
So
yep.
Kind of talk to us about leading both of those programs, differences, similarities, things like that.
Well, yeah, it is kind of a big job, but my assistant coaches are wonderful. And so when you have great assistant coaches, you can actually accomplish a lot of things. And I really enjoy coaching both sports and being able to coach both boys and girls, because you get to know a lot of the students on campus, and you get to build those relationships and hopefully have an impact on their lives. And so it is a lot of work, and it does take up a lot of time, but it's definitely worth that, and I love it.
That's good.
Well, I think that, one of the things I would think that would be difficult is maybe one program, the boys or the girls feeling like you're spending more time with one over the other. But that's actually none of that has ever come up in your time at OCS. Is that something that you have to be purposeful about, or does it come pretty naturally that you're basically spending the most amount of time with both programs in that season?
I mean, it's hard to juggle that. I am a boy mom, and I'm kind of a tomboy. So I do kind of gravitate a little bit more towards the boys programs, just because I have raised 2 boys. And so That is a little bit difficult, but I am very mindful and purposeful about making sure I try to make things even for both programs. And I think it has been for the most part. But the great thing is, especially with our assistants, maybe one of them will be a little bit more, girl program minded. And so they can kind of help with that as well.
Yeah. And just talk about the structure of your track staff, because from my understanding, you break it up more in their events rather than boys or girls. So kind of talk about the makeup of that staff.
Yeah, that's right. So we just we make sure that we have an assistant coach for each different discipline that's in track, with sprints, mid distance and distance, hurdles, jumps, which can be broken down into a couple of different categories: pole vault, high jump, long jump, and then throws. So it's a lot.
Yeah.
So each of our coaches has a different job for that, and they do a great job. And so they train both the boys and girls at the same time, which is very beneficial for both sides of the program.
Yep.
Can you talk to us a little bit about the time commitment and the difference in the time commitment from cross country to track? Because I know back in my heyday of coaching middle school cross country, like the time commitment was there, but
I moved on quickly. No,
I did. But I feel like it was it was a time commitment to be there, but it was more of like, hey, we're gonna run for 25 minutes, and then we're pretty much done. Like with track, I feel like there's a little bit more time. I don't know. Can you explain to that?
Well, each program definitely is time consuming. So for cross country, we start in the summertime. So it does span for a little bit longer month wise as the season goes. But you can only run so much because then your body starts breaking down, etc. So cross country usually takes about 1.5 to 2 hours at the most. And then track season, it may not be as long of a season, but because of the different disciplines, just depending on what you're in, it may take about an hour to 2 hours as well for practice.
Okay. All right. Now, staying on the whole time commitment thing a little bit, right? So not only do you coach cross country and track, you are also our 6th grade girls middle school basketball coach. All right. So talk to us about kind of what it's like to be in another coach's program as a head coach.
Yeah, so it's a great opportunity to get to know more students, and especially at a younger age, so that way you can start pouring into their lives sooner. And so I really love working underneath Coach Dub, who's the head girls basketball coach here. And it's really good to be able to serve in a different capacity, so that way you're just helping out in any way you can.
Yeah.
And I assume it's giving you a perspective of what it's like to be an assistant, or in this case, a middle school coach. And
Absolutely.
So it probably helps you as a leader of a program to see how those coaches, if I, as a head coach of a program, I'm not communicating well to my assistants in middle school, that may be frustrating for them. You could see that and think, okay, well, not that Coach Dublin does that. I mean, she does an incredible job of communicating. But it's something. And the really interesting thing about that is Coach Castillo reached out to me and said, I'd really love to coach basketball. I mean, she was already hooked up in cross country and track, and we try to only have coaches coach 2 sports. 3 can be a lot, depending on your role. But you reached out to me and said, hey, I'd love to be able to coach basketball, and served as our 7th grade coach for a number of years. And that's just been incredible to see Coach Castillo and just how she wants to serve. And, she doesn't come and say, hey, I got to have this. I need this. You need to do this for me. It's how do I serve OCS in general? Because you also teach Spanish in our middle school.
That's right.
Drive a bus.
Yes.
Shout out to all the bus drivers out there.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Okay,
Let's go.
Special place in heaven for them, I'm sure. And so one thing that I wanted to talk about, I know he has had a tremendous impact on your life and in your coaching, is your dad. Can you talk about just the impact that your dad has made on your life?
Yeah. So my dad, his name's Joe Bill Lyerly, and he was a coach at Kellyville schools and at Sapulpa schools. And so he was actually my head cross country coach in high school. And so, I got to be with him every day, got to see what that was like to be a head coach. And then when I went off to college, I kind of disconnected from sports kind of in general, other than just for fun. And then, and he retired from coaching. So when he went back to coaching 8 years after he retired, and then God called us back to that same school that he was at, we got the opportunity to coach together for 9 years. And what a special time that was. I'm very thankful for that time. My dad has passed away now, and it's been about a year and a half. So it's still a little, new for me. And but he made such a big impact in my life and in so many other people's lives. As he was getting closer to when he passed, a lot of his former athletes came to visit him. And what a special moment that was to see the impact that he had made in so many people's lives. And so that's kind of the thing that I look to for him, or to get from him, is I hope that I can be somewhat like that when I come to the end of my days. And he's just a really great guy and very special.
That's awesome. Well, and to, point out to players and parents, I mean, sometimes we have these relationships with these players and then they graduate, and sometimes it's difficult to stay in contact. They go to different places, may go to college, may go to the military, all these things. And being able to have them come back, and sometimes when they're 16, 17, 18, they're not like, hey, thank you for making me run a whole lot of practice today. But, they come back, when they're 25, 26, or they have kids or whatever, and I think it's always special when an athlete comes back and says, I appreciate you investing this time in me. And obviously that was set up with you and your dad, and you're seeing each other, but being able to see that all the way through is such a special thing. And I've heard nothing but incredible things about that. And you said your mom also coached.
Yeah.
So what did she coach? Because I don't know if I remembered that.
Well, she was actually an all-state basketball player.
Okay.
And so she coached basketball for a long time. And we actually coached together, too, at Kiefer. We coached the 5th and 6th grade and 7th and 8th grade girls teams for a couple years together.
Yeah,
and it was really fun. Yeah.
That's great.
That's cool. Well, and I know, talking about the relationship piece with players and things like that, I tell a lot of our baseball players all the time, like, hey, I will get more joy being invited to your wedding and like you calling me saying, hey, coach, I'm about to have my first kid. What do I do? Yeah. That to me is going to bring me a lot of joy. Like, I like to win, don't get me. Like, I want to win. But, like, that's going to bring me more joy at the end of the day of, like, oh, man, he's going to be a husband. He's going to be a dad. I know he's somewhat prepared, but I know he's probably terrified right now, just like I was, But that's pretty cool. So, moving on to my next question for you. Your husband is also our head soccer coach. So what is it like being married to a head coach as well as being a head coach? What's that dynamic like?
It's actually great.
Okay.
Some people may not like that, but I love it because we think we're very similar minded on coaching. And so even though we coach very different sports, we get to bounce ideas off each other. And we talk about different maybe situations that may come up, and we talk each other through that and try to help each other out. Like, maybe you should try this, or maybe you should do this. And I really love it. It is difficult at times, but the cool thing is that cross country is at the same time as his college season, and then track is during his high school season. And so we're gone at the same time, so it doesn't seem that bad to be missing each other because we're both very busy at that time. But it's during the summer and during the winter when we get to spend more time together.
When you guys share athletes too, right?
We do.
Soccer, because he coaches girls soccer and on the track side. So how does that conversation go down? And like, hey, we got state track coming up. Like, no, they cannot miss track practice.
You put your foot down.
They have to be here. How's that?
Well, actually, he has not shared his athletes with me.
Oh, no.
But he did really do a good job of really trying to talk some of his soccer girls into coming out for cross country.
Okay.
And that has been had a huge impact on our cross country program. And but he did say he may be open this year to sharing a few athletes.
I like it.
We got a couple of girl relays that we need to fulfill to be able to be on that podium, and
Okay.
so
Yeah.
he understands that. But I also want him to be very successful, and I know they're going to be trying to win a state championship as well.
Yeah.
So we're both very mindful of those things, and we want the best for the athletes.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to another coach? Let's say they're starting their career out as a coach. You've coached at a few different places. You've coached in a public school, private school setting. You've coached different sports. What advice would you give an up and coming coach?
I think probably well, the number one thing is, don't lose sight of what's the most important thing, which is we're trying to grow these athletes as people, and hopefully guiding them towards a relationship with Christ. And so that's number one. Number two, I think, to find a mentor that's doesn't even have to be in the same sport as you, but find somebody that you can talk to about different things that are going on, and that they can give you good advice about those things. And number three, really, really try to teach your athletes to give their best effort, and the winning will come in result of that. So if they're learning to give their best effort, and they're not dogging it and not giving their best, then they will be able to find some success in that.
Yeah, I think all that was great advice. The advice about finding a mentor is so big, because when I first got into coaching, I thought I knew everything, and I'm entering year 20 now, and I feel like I've gotten dumber every year because I find out how much I don't know. And
Yeah.
so sometimes your pride, your ego can stand in the way of that, and you're only hurting yourself and then the athletes that you're going to be leading if you're not, finding a mentor. And even as older coaches now, we don't get reached out to very much about being mentored by anybody. And so, there's that opportunity that's there if someone really wants that. Want to take a quick time out here to ask you to please leave a comment down below with any episode ideas or any feedback on any of our episodes. And then also you can email us at theathleticoffice@gmail.com. Let's get back to it. And as we finish up today, we want to ask the question that we've really is our first series in this podcast. And that is, what would you tell parents as a coach? What do you wish parents would know? And maybe it applies to your parents in your program, but maybe even more broadly applies to parents of any program for any coach.
Yeah, so I think that I'd like to tell them that all of us coaches, we do have the best interest for their kids at heart. And there's a lot of things that we have to think about in order to do whatever it is that we're doing, whether you're choosing somebody to play in a different position, or you're choosing somebody to do something over somebody else, or even practices. There's so much thinking that goes on that the coaches have to do, and they have to think everything through. And they really have thought a lot about it, and that they're trying to make the best decision for each kid on the team. And then, of course, they also had to think about what is best overall for the team. So it may not just be the best decision for one particular kid, but overall as the team. And also, when we have great parents in our program that support the coach, it makes the coach's job 1,000% easier.
Yeah.
And so in my cross country and my track programs, we have had some really great parents. And so it really does make our jobs a lot easier when we know that we have their support, and that they are stepping up and saying, hey, would you like me to do this, or would you like me to do that? And it does take a little bit of our burden, if you want to call it that, away from us, and that we can focus more on the actual coaching.
Yeah, I mean, as athletic director, I see more coaches getting out of coaching because of negative environments. People are not willing to help out. They expect a lot. And so coaches just say it's just not worth it. And so for those of us who have stuck through it and continue to coach, we've experienced the opposite. We've experienced supportive parents and helpful and great, student athletes and things like that. And so I think that's such a big thing for athletics in general, to remain a positive experience for everybody that's involved. So thank you for joining us. Again, just like and subscribe. Again, if you have ideas for episodes, leave it in the comments, or we have an email address, theathleticsoffice@gmail.com, and we look forward to seeing you in the next episode.